Hello, hi there, it's Jason from the Meta Rush, and welcome back. Today, I'm going to go through NATs, which is something that has been widely discussed on Twitter, which is a protocol launched by the Block Runner channel. I'm not even going to edit this video, as unfortunately I haven't got my usual setup. So I'm going to try and be as quick as I can and take you through this PowerPoint presentation, which I hope will help you guys understand what NATs are. From my perspective, I've had a chance to read the Git book, and this is just my review on it and what I believe it's about. So, what are NATs? Well, basically they stand for non-arbitrary tokens. And what you can see on here is a screenshot, basically, if I just move my head across, of the blockchain.com website. And if you go and type a number in of a block, so in this case, we've got block 31,254, you can see that you're presented with quite a number of data. Now, basically, what the NATs token is doing is leveraging the bits number or data point that you get, which is contained within the block. And in essence, it's a way of basically, I guess, mining an element of the block and trying to extract that element and I guess turn it into a currency, a token, whatever you want to call it. And it's this whole thing which the Block Runner chaps essentially coined the term digital matter theory. So it's using data that exists already and trying to extrapolate it and make a use case of it, which in this case, like I say, is the NATs or NAT, whatever you want to call it, really. And I guess in principle, it's trying to avoid, like many altcoins that exist, which you can probably see on the screenshot here. Hopefully you can see my mouse, where it's an alternative to just sort of pluck in projects out of thin air, creating altcoins, cryptocurrencies, whatever you want to call it. And, it's not really a shit coin, let's say. It's really trying to take a piece of data and tokenize it, really. That's my understanding of what the Block Runner chats are genuinely trying to do. And if you haven't come across the Block Runner channel, I'm sure you have, but obviously do check out the channel. They explain all of this in extreme detail. It's an hour video, and they posted another half an hour video recently as well. And it's really good to go through that video and ideally you've actually read the Git book as well, because then it all starts to sort of come clearer as they talk and as you read the Git book. Now, I guess in theory, I say the NATs protocol, which the Block Runner guys have come up with, they are extrapolating, and we'll go through it in a bit more detail in this video, but they are taking this element, which is bits. And I guess in theory, if there was another protocol, you could be using the nonce, you could be using Ward, you could be using some of the other data points or other information that is contained within the block to try and leverage it as a currency, I guess, or token. So one way of looking at it, which is what I've got on the slide, so this whole aspect of taking tokens is like looking at how we mine elements of, our existing real world terrain. Lots of different lands have different properties, and this is how I'm looking at it, whereas the Block Runner chaps are taking one of these key elements and I guess the bits, if we were trying to compare it to a real mineral in our world, it could be considered, I don't know, as quartz, as marble, whatever, slate. You could, hopefully you start to understand that, and you can see by looking at, the other sort of data points that we had, that you could leverage lots and lots of different data as different elements or different tokens, I guess, in theory. I think that's really what they're going for. So just continuing. So when you go through the GitHub, there are a few methods or methodologies around NATs at the moment. So you can see I've sort of labelled, and to be fair, it is on there, it tells you which of these methodologies are live and which are not. So method one, which is the one we're really talking about at the moment, which is the minting, inscribing of NATs. And this is obviously live at the moment. And the idea is essentially, yes, it's a token, and it could lead on to potential use cases in the future. It could potentially be a token that we could use in our bitmap metaverses, alongside perhaps many other tokens that we've come accustomed to and are behind, as well as projects. Method 3, as you can see, is also live, but as Block Runner guys did say in their video, this is something as bitmap holders that we can basically claim BNP tokens, sort of using a similar method. But I say that's not the purpose of this video. We're not going to go into that. And then this sort of method 2, which is about child inscriptions. Again, that seems to be a work in progress. So I haven't really got too much at the moment to go on that just yet. Sorry, my PowerPoint's a little bit slow. So I've seen a lot of sort of arguments going on at the moment between individuals within the Twitter space, and I'm not really sure why, to be honest. I'm not sure if it's because people aren't reading or understanding exactly what NATS is about, what it's trying to achieve. So I put the question, does it cause an issue with my bitmaps? Because I feel people are saying, oh, you're stealing my block numbers if you're inscribing. I own the block. No, you don't own the block. Do go and check out one of my past videos. And it's quite clear that even though we've inscribed and have a claim to the block under the bitmap protocol, bitmap standard, we in fact do not own the blocks. These blocks are there for, I guess, anyone to do anything with however they wish. Ultimately, what drives these protocols is community and getting behind it and building upon these standards ultimately. So I think there's nothing to worry about if somebody has inscribed your block under these NATS framework, NATS protocol, whatever you want to call it, because ultimately what we are doing, just like I was showing you the minerals beforehand, we are basically trying to mine the bits out of these blocks to turn into currency, to turn into tokens. So that's what I've got here. This protocol looks at harnessing or mining a particular element of these blocks. The result is that it is extracting the bits number data to turn into NATS. That's what it's doing. It's a non-arbitrary way of creating a currency or token. So the way I see it is that really what we're doing now, I guess, is it's almost like a little bit of a gold rush. How many bits can you get, which you can then turn into NATS? So just reading my last point here as well, if you wanted to use the bits data of your bitmap for another reason, you could do so, as you can do what you like with your bitmaps and use the block data however you wish. Exactly. Again, these protocols only work by communities getting behind them, ultimately. Okay. So if for whatever reason another project wanted to still leverage the same data for a different aspect, they have a different framework or different protocol, there is no reason why they cannot do that, because again, nobody owns the blocks. It's how these projects are created and the frameworks behind them, the community. So I think people, please be rest assured that your bitmaps are not being harmed in any way. I think ultimately this is something which hopefully we can actually use on our bitmaps when we build out these metaverses. So I put here, but others are inscribing my bitmap numbers. So again, so what? Doesn't matter. You are extracting the bits to turn into nats. So I feel like maybe I'm repeating myself here a bit, but I think it's really important to hit this message and understand this message. And so this sort of, I guess, as my point says there, if I was restricted to the bitmaps you had, so bearing in mind, we want fair distribution. These projects, these frameworks really only do well, I believe, if there's been a fair way of distribution to be able to obtain these tokens. And I've put the example here, like some people have got over thousands of bitmaps. So like with some other protocols, that you are rewarded with tokens and the amount of tokens because of the amount of bitmaps you've got. Well, you're really sort of closing that circle. You're closing that community and restricting that community ultimately, which I don't think that is to the benefit of any project that's going to succeed over time. And, you know, especially new entrants into this market who, you know, you've probably seen the cost of some of these bitmaps now. You know, they are some, you know, $60, $70. I'm not going to mention what BTC value is, but I'm just talking from a dollar perspective because that's generally what we trade in. And, you know, so obviously to you know, come and get one of these bitmaps now for new entrants isn't, you know, it's not cheap. So what we don't want to do is penalise new entrants into the space. We want this to be open for all because the more people, the more community we can grow in these in this space will only propel it. You know, that's what we want. So at the moment, anyone can inscribe essentially these nats through the protocol by following a very similar process that, you know, if you were here in the early days of bitmap, it's pretty much got the same sort of vibe where, you know, you're searching if those blocks are available and then, you know, inscribing them to claim ownership of them. And, you know, the wonderful thing here is that, you know, we're going through that process again. And really now what we're doing is, you know, we're going up with a little pickaxe trying to go and mine currency out of these blocks. Well, that's how I'm understanding. So yeah, I won't read every point that I've got there. Hopefully you've had a chance to read that. And look, obviously none of this is financial advice. I just want to get that out there. And I do genuinely feel it is a good idea, good protocol. And, you know, I think it does, it is something that can work alongside other tokens that's, you know, or currencies, whatever you want to call it, that we've come accustomed to over the last few months, in particular within Ordinals. So I sort of tried to have a quick stab at this in terms of total supply, just to get an idea. Now, something that's really worth noting is that this will not have a closed total supply because supply will be generated every time a new block is created. But I just wanted to have a bit of a stab at it, what we're sort of looking at the moment based on about 800,000 blocks. So I sort of looked at the bits generally between various sample of different blocks, and it was sort of ranging between, you know, 360 million to 480 million bits, to an average of about 420. Look, this could be, you know, plus minus 10, 15%. So don't hold these numbers. And to be fair, I'll probably note it later on in this that Track will be sort of keeping tab of these, to be honest, trackers and indexers, So we'll get a lot more clarity on this over time as things are getting set up a lot better. But I looked at this, and yeah, I guess roughly if you base the average on the amount of 800,000 blocks, you're looking at about 336 quadrillion sort of tokens, bits, whatever you want to call it. NAT, let's say. But as I say, increase over time. That's a huge supply, but this is just my take, my opinion. Everyone has their own opinion. So I've just put in that, look, yes, okay, it is a huge supply, but I don't think it's an issue. I think it can provide a lot of liquidity, allows a lot of people to obtain NATs, and the more people that use it, the more liquidity it can bring into this space. I always, I just noticed I put a spelling mistake on the next point, but what that says is cap supplies can be restricted in closed circles. So, if there's only, let's say, 100 of these, and you can only have, maximum 100 owners because you can have one each. Well, you're not really creating a community, are you? You're just creating a real sort of, okay, you could argue, you're creating an elite group of people, but then you're only really going to trade in between those, and then to get, new people in. I do find that some of these systems don't always work, whereas I think you want as much in circulation as possible, and people trading between it and using it as well. It needs to be usable. Maybe that's why sometimes some of our British pounds and dollars, print money. They need to keep pumping money in, so keep circulating, people using it. Some can get richer. All of this sort of thing. Look, that's really not my area of expertise, but I don't think it's a bad thing. Yeah, like I say, for me, the most exciting thing about all of this is if it means it can bring lots of people, masses into it that can potentially use it. Fantastic, and I think that goes really well, coincides great. Same philosophy as the bitmap protocol. And yeah, just to note really that look, other protocols can be created using digital map theory or using this type of setup in terms of trying to use other data from the block and tokenizing it and creating another form of currency as well. It's not restricted. So I'm sure we will see many other projects and many others doing that. So how to inscribe NATs? Just very quickly, I'll take you through it. Just some screenshots. I didn't want to go through the whole, sort of Unisat. But I've been using Unisats, and really, if you go on Gitbook, you'll see that you've got the text inscription here that you can copy and paste. Make sure that you keep it in that sort of format, and also make sure that between the double dots here and the apostrophes that you ensure that the space is maintained. I've seen some, unfortunately, I've done one of these where, I don't know, for some reason I'd closed that space and it didn't inscribe properly. So yeah, make sure you don't tamper with it to ensure successful inscription. And where you've got sort of the hash symbol there, that's essentially where you go and input your block number in. You can use this SnapMap, which Autonomous Wallet has put out, which is pretty cool. And you can see, obviously, very similar to what bitmap was previously. You can see the ones that aren't oranged out. They are essentially, the black ones are not inscribed, and the orange has been claimed already. So you do not want to be wasting your money on trying to inscribe ones that are already filled. But however, don't just rely on this map. The most important thing to do is you head over to Unisat. Again, you type the whole description, copy and paste it in with the block number, and make sure that there are no descriptions already. Because, yes, that's really important. You do not want to waste your money on inscribing what somebody else has already. And then once you see it's available, there's no results or records, you're good to go. You just go to the, I'll just go back. You hit the search bar on Unisat under text and you type that in, hit the search button. And then when you're going to inscribe it, so again, you just go to inscribe under text, copy it in, and as you can see, I've got the block number there. Hit next, follow the instructions, connect your wallet, etc., and you'll just pay the fees, and you'll be able to then inscribe your block. And if you're on Ordinal's wallet and you've got your wallet connected, the one that you've inscribed your blocks on, let's call it, you'll if it's gone through correctly, you might have to wait a little bit of time, but it should show a blue color, which is the ones that you own. And it's always good to double check on the search function again on Unisat, type in what you've put in, and then checking that it's inscribed with your wallet address that you claimed it, and the first to inscribe and owner of it, because it only counts if you're the first to inscribe to claim that block, and that's how you get your NATs. I did mention about tracks, so there was a note on the GitHub about track systems is indexing all inscriptions from the Tabular system from end to end, including transfer inscription. So I think the whole balance and everything. Hopefully, I'm hoping that you go on like your X1st wallet, the Unisat wallet, and other BRC20 tokens, etc. It will show like how many of these NATs that you've got, so you can see your total balances. So I believe track is sort of doing that in the background, and Inscribe is doing something as well. So yeah, it's one of those we just have to keep watching this space. So are you still on the fence? Not sure what path to take. So I did know there's other protocols like BNP for bitmap holders. Yeah, I mean I've claimed mine under BNP because again it's one of those. It's predominantly for bitmap holders only, and I know there's a bit of a rule set there of how many you get, etc. If you've got like sub 10k, sub 100k, etc., and you get so many of these BNP tokens. But like I say, there's obviously been a rule set there applied. It's not that sort of like free to all to claim. It's a bit more of a closed circle. But I say I'm happy to follow different projects and programs and see where they go really. And from my point of view, again, not financial advice, but if you can afford $10, $20 because of network fees, etc., plus the inscription fees, it might be worth just getting one or two blocks, and having a little few nats there, and then just sit on it and see what happens. I guess sometimes I think it's better to try, if you can afford to, like I say, it's better to get some exposure and then see where these projects go. So I've just put a wrap-up conclusion here. So firstly, do read the Digital Matter Theory Gitbook. Do your own due diligence. Read the document. Come up with your own conclusions. Make sure you understand it. I may have said certain things in here because it is pretty early days. I'm still going through the learning curve. I'm still trying to understand everything within the Gitbook. However, I'm hoping that I've understood it correctly. I mean, I'll be really interested to hear your comments. If you've got any extra clarifications or information that you can share, please do, because look, let's all help educate each other. Let's all help understand each other. So in conclusion, I'll just read what I've put here. So that ultimately it's up to you what you do. It's your money. It's up to you to go and follow whatever protocol you want. I do think, an appreciation, thanks needs to be given to the block runner team for creating this framework and protocol. They've been absolute legends in this space. And, I think this is ultimately one way of thanking them. The other point I've got is, thanking them to show the support for this protocol ultimately. I've put, we need this ecosystem to grow and allow for innovation. So, anything within ordinals, anything related to bitmap, we need to allow innovation. We need to allow new protocols. We need to find ways of bringing new ideas, because all of these new ideas, all these new protocols are what ultimately propel bitmaps. It needs to be an economy that is created. We need something really created around bitmaps for it to flourish. We don't just want it to be a little image, a little block. we want it to be metaverses. We want it to be something incredible that we yet can't envisage what it is. And the more adaptability, the more things we can bring into this space will only help it. I put a note about that I've learned not to fade these projects, especially when they're created by exemplar individuals and from immense contributors of this space. The block runner team are exactly that. So, I do think, do your own due diligence, but I think it's definitely something that should not be faded, something that should have a negative stigma around. This should be actually, I believe, harnessed, and we should really be appreciating what has been offered here, an opportunity. These are opportunities ultimately. And I did just want to put another note about, without the Block Runner channel, many of us would not have come across Bitmap. And I think, that is an honest truth for many of us. So again, it's about that appreciation. And I just want to get it out there as well. I've not been sponsored. I've not been asked to do this video. I just wanted to do it because I wanted to understand what this NATS protocol is about. I strongly believe this is a good protocol and we need to see where it goes. And then I put it's also a way of many big app holders to show support to Block Runner, sort of repeat myself as education videos with regards to Bitcoin and Ordinals ecosystem is incredible. Totally agree. And I hope you agree with that statement too. And then spelled remember wrong, but remember it's all at your own risk. This could fail. This might not go anywhere. Don't know. But that's the risk we take as early adopters, as visionaries, as people that appreciate innovation. It's not always going to work out. So don't put money in that you can't risk to lose. But let's hope as a community we can help it grow and prosper into something which we can integrate into our bitmaps in future, alongside other projects we have also grown to become fond of, appreciate, etc. So again, I hope this has helped understand more about NATS, in addition to more videos. I was just trying to see a way of simplifying it. So hopefully you really like that. And until next time.